Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. This is Todd Burge. I believe I may have called the wrong number before.
It happens. It happens.
Jon Anderson of Yes will be at the People's Bank Theater August 16th, and really happy to talk to you about it, John. Great to have you on the phone. And
good to be here.
Yeah, and
good to be still alive.
Yeah, I agree. And so, just I guess I'm interested in your songwriting and what you're doing now. But I know that many people will be wondering about the Yes music you'll be playing on Friday, August 16th at the People's Bank Theater. And I understand that your new band you do showcase some Yes music.
Yeah, I made sure that I have an 8-piece band so I can sound like a full orchestra or a full rock band or a full not a brass band, but like a big band, sounds and things like that.
Right.
We do things like Yours Is No Disgrace, and in the middle, the big band thing happens, kind of freaking people out. It works a treat. I always wanted to expand Yes over the years, especially this last 10 years. When I worked with ARW, I wanted an extra keyboard, an extra musician here and there to augment and develop a sound that I kept hearing.
Right.
But, as you know, bands, sometimes they don't all agree. And so I just waited, and now I have this 8-piece band, 1,000 Hands band, and that's the name of the album we just done. And, man, these guys are so incredible, and all international musicians. One violin player from Taiwan, a keyboard player from Philippines who plays trombone.
Nice.
All these guys, percussionists from Trinidad, and you got incredible energy that comes out of that on stage, and people are loving this show. So we're gonna have a great time.
Awesome. I was listening to the new album just before I called you. The 1,000 Hands, and it seems you have 1,000 guests on the album. Ian Anderson, I noticed John Luke Ponte and others on there. It's a great sounding album.
People connect over the years. You meet people throughout your 50 years on the road with Yes. Can you imagine? It's unbelievable the amount of people you meet.
Oh, yes.
And I just wanted them all to play on an album. Even wanted the Beach Boys, but they were busy.
Right on. I should tell you something. So I'm calling you now from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and I've lived in various places in my life, Pittsburgh and San Francisco and various places, but my life's journey brought me back home here. But growing up in Parkersburg, West Virginia, at Parkersburg High School, I had a teacher there that taught a humanities class, and he would take us to the Planetarium, and we'd stare at the stars, and Mr. Yoke would play Close to the Edge and the Fragile album.
Fantastic.
Yes, and it was my introduction to Yes and your music, and it led me to really becoming a fan of of course, I had Yesterday's Tormato, Fragile, Close to the Edge, Going for the One, and all those albums were like, embedded in me. But and it led me to Animation, your solo work, Songs of Seven, and Jon and Vangelis, but it also, a lot of people credit, Bob Dylan as taking them into taking music into this new territory, but there are many out there that believe that yes, there's a sound, and your voice, of course, is a big part of this. It led me to transcendental meditation and just a very mind expanding experience, musically and spiritually. And I just thought I'd lay that on you. I'm
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you, because that's where I was going, and that's where I'm still evolving and slowly learning each and every day, and ever grateful for what I do. I can't believe what I do, in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I went to see the movie yesterday, the amazing movie that they made about the fact that the Beatles were never, and this guy started singing songs of the Beatles, but became very famous because nobody knew that the Beatles happened. And
Right.
honestly, I was crying all the way through, because I was so grateful for the songs that the Beatles created in the 60s that kept me going.
Right.
And they, especially George Harrison, very spiritual songs.
Yes.
It's an amazing experience to live through the 60s as a musician, and then still carry on and start doing things in the 70s that you would never dream of. And I was in the middle of all that, so I'm very, very ever grateful.
Yeah, and still creating fine work, I should say. And I'm interested in your songwriting, how it's changed through the years. I know that's a large question, but maybe you couldn't answer that in a brief interview here. But mostly, I guess if I could narrow it down, do you sit and write daily, and do you work it, or do you let it come, or both?
Let it happen. It's one of those things that in the early days I just sing into a microphone ideas with my guitar, and then I'd listen back to it and say, what am I trying to sing? Because at that time I was reading a lot of Herman Hesse, a lot of sci-fi books and autobiography books and things, and I could sense what I was trying to say, so I'd write down what it sounded like more than anything. And Starship Trooper, for instance, I'd just finished the book by Heinlein, Robert Heinlein, and I threw it in there because I started off the song with just a bluebird flying high above. The idea was very simple, the higher self talking and singing to me, and talking to myself through the higher self and so on. Just a learning experience. And as time came along, that's the way I would write. And then I started working with Vangelis and found the spontaneity was just extraordinary for me to write Friends of Mr. Cairo in one afternoon.
Yeah.
And everything me and Vangelis did, the first takes, we'd do a run-through of what it was and record it at the same time, and then learn what we were trying to sing or do. He would play, and we just switch on the machine and start recording. So we'd record maybe 4 or 5 things in an afternoon, and then try and figure out what we were trying to perform from Vangelis' point of view. He'd start producing, and I'd start listening to the lyrics. And eventually you get to that place where you actually sing the lyrics, very rarely, but you sing the lyrics spontaneously. I think State of Independence was a song that I wrote in Paris with Vangelis, and the lyrics poured out, word for word, all the way through. And I thought, wow, that was perfect. It doesn't happen all the time. So
yeah.
I still go through, every morning I get up and I'll sing, and I'm working with lots of people through the internet, MP3s or the way to make music these days. You're still on the same planet, but you write music, and the spontaneity of the lyric is very, very important, because if I sit around trying to write a lyric It doesn't work.
Right. Oh, and I should say, I would highly recommend listening to those songs you mentioned with Vangelis, friends.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised to hear that they were so spontaneous. Really, they were.
Yeah. Well, we'd actually done the tracks in 3 parts. Thanks to Mr. Cairo. And Mr. Cairo was, of course, Peter Lorre in the Maltese Falcon. And that's what I was listening to. I'd actually seen the movie 2 days earlier.
Yes.
On video. And so I started to wonder, why gangster movies? You know, who financed the gangster movies of the 30s and 40s? Well, of course, gangsters did. It promoted them, of course. And that's what the song's about, you know. And then at the end, it gets into a very soft energy about he fell in love with this beautiful woman on this giant screen when you're 10 years old. You know, it's that kind of the energy of sitting in front of a giant screen in black and white and watching Humphrey Bogart and all those wonderful energies too. Yeah. That's what the song's about. Just works out that way.
Well, hey, I could talk to you all day, but
let's carry on. You know, it's just been a lot of fun touring with this band. It's going to be a great show. I gotta go, and I wish you well.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. We'll see you on the 16th.
Take care now.
All right,
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.